Mr. Michael Millanes will now introduce the graduate who will give the response.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege to introduce our graduate response speaker this afternoon, Edgar Desher Publico Empeno. Desher is a product of Lasallian education during his formative years. After graduating from De La Salle Sobel as valedictorian in elementary and senior high school, Desher was offered a full scholarship under the Brother Andrew Gonzalez FSC grant. He carried the same drive and dedication into the university, excelling in 2 rigorous degree programs and a minor program. He was awarded the Sixto K. Rojas Gold Medal for Excellence in Economics for having the highest economic CGPA among graduates from the Carlos L. Tiu School of Economics. Under the school, his group was also awarded the Outstanding Undergraduate Thesis in Economics for their research on conditional cash transfers. Desher was an active member of the De La Salle Debate Society, spending nights and weekends training with fellow debaters, representing the university in local and international debate tournaments. Among his team's achievements includes first runner-up in the Philippines and top 4 in Asia. His team was also the champion of the Junior Philippine Economics Society's Economics Debate Competition, where he was awarded overall Best Speaker. Beyond the classroom, he was a student leader, serving in the La Salle Debate Society, the Economics Organization, and the School of Economics Government. He also became a research assistant at the DLSU Angelo King Institute and completed internships across institutions in government, academe, and the private sector. Amid all these commitments, Desher still finds time to climb mountains. He is one of the youngest members of the AMCI Mountaineering Club, a nonprofit organization that conducts multi-climes and community service across the Philippines. Among his favorite achievements is completing the AMCI's rigorous 5-month mountaineering course, a journey that tested his physical endurance, mental resilience, and allowed him to witness the beauty of mountains across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Today, Desher is graduating Magna Cum Laude with double degrees of Bachelor of Science in Applied Economics, Major Industrial Economics, and the Bachelor of Science in Accountancy with a minor in Data Science. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our graduate response speaker, Edgar Desher Publico Empeno.
Thank you, Mr. Millanes, for that warm introduction. And I would like to thank the University Honors and Awards Council for such an incredible opportunity to give the response on behalf of this graduating batch. Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Senen Bacani, University President, Brother Bernard S. Oca, FSC, Provost, Dr. Robert Roleda, Ms. Kaishan Fernandez, a Senior Vice President, Distinguished Awardee, Dr. Nestor Tan, De La Salle Brothers, esteemed administrators, faculty, staff, guests, beloved parents, friends, and my fellow graduates. Good afternoon. They say that on average, a human lives about 25,000 days. That's 600,000 hours, about 2/3 of which we spend awake. And of those hours, we roughly spend 20,000 in college. That's 20,000 hours spent in lectures, hours waiting for grades to drop, praying for a curve, hours sprinting from Ellis to Andrew, refreshing animosis, hoping one slot, just one, opens, hours juggling org work between classes, racing to meet deadlines, and before all that, hours at home, staring at screens, praying we'd one day live college for real. But 20,000 hours also fly by so quickly. One day you do the frosh walk, the next you apply to graduate. Life, it seems, is a race from one milestone to another. Perhaps that is why, even as we celebrate this significant achievement, one question just won't leave us alone. What's next? From a young age, we have been trained to have an answer. Our educational system is built on progression. From grade school to high school to college, we are always moving forward. And so we learned early on that what's next is what matters, that success means constant progress. For the longest time, I saw those 20,000 hours as just things to breeze through to the big moment. The titles beside our names, the diploma, the job. We thought that if we just kept moving, the answers would come. But here's the truth. Sometimes we just don't know what's next. We don't know who we are supposed to be. So the better question might be, what matters now? After 20,000 hours, we realize this. When we slow down to self-reflect, we start to notice the things that have always mattered, starting with ourselves. During the undas break of my 4th year, before my weekly accounting exam, I decided with all the conviction in my heart that there was one thing more important than studying, and that was climbing a mountain. I was in Bukidnon in Mindanao, standing at the base of Mount Kalatungan, the 5th highest mountain in the country. Needless to say, the 4-day climb was brutal. 12 hours a day on foot, my legs burning, my pack digging deeper into my shoulders, heavier with every step. I kept thinking, the view will make it all worth it. To my surprise, when we finally reached the summit, there was nothing, just thick fog, torrential rain, and wind strong enough to knock us down. Sayang. Everything I thought that would make the climb worth it was gone. And yet, the climb didn't end there. At 4 a.m. the next morning, we pushed on to the connecting peak. Another 1,000 meters in the dark, our breath visible in the cold. And somewhere along that silent trail, my friend, a fellow Lasallian, tapped me and said, "Look up." Above us, the stars, thousands of them, endless and close enough to reach. And then, the light. And as the sun began to rise, the sea of clouds started to form. And there we were, peaks piercing the clouds, valleys stretching into gold, a 360 view of Mindanao, Mount Apo in the distance. And taking it all in, I thought, how wonderful it is to be alive. Because from that height, everything slowed. Minutes felt like hours, and hours like days. And for once, I wasn't racing toward anything. It was here that I found my first answer to what matters. Not the summit, not the view, not the goal, but the moments in between, the moment you stop and look around. We spent 20,000 hours trying to conquer our programs to reach the end. But fellow graduates, the end is a mere snapshot. The bulk of our lives are made of space in the middle. In the mountains, I realized that not every hour is meant to be conquered. Some are meant to be lived. And that, fellow graduates, is the story of how I failed my accounting exam. I wish I could say that the climb fixed all my problems, yet it didn't. But up there, I realized something we so easily forget down here. That life is not always about the next result. Sometimes, it's just about taking a breath and realizing how far we have come despite insurmountable odds. Fellow graduates, the days in college felt like everything moved at the speed of light. Life itself felt like an uphill climb. On some days, we made decisions not because we wanted to, but because we had to, because life kept demanding more. Some of us worked before class. Some battled burnout in silence. Some were decimal points away from delay or faced one more retake they couldn't afford to risk. And sometimes, the pressure was simply too much. We were all carrying more than we let on. Expectations piled up. The goalposts kept moving. And even when we succeeded, it didn't always feel like success. Just a brief moment of relief before the next thing began. And yet, here we are. Our graduation is a time to pause, to look back, not at what we lacked, but at how much we gave. Because every hard day we fought to survive, every silent struggle, and every small win, all led us here. And maybe that is what matters now. But it's not just what matters, it's also who matters now. Because when we reflect on the hours we've spent getting here, it was never a journey we walked alone. How blessed are we to have professors who have left indelible marks on our lives, who are institutional memory, to have supportive administrators and staff fulfill the Lasallian mission despite massive uncertainties, to be cared for by our ates and kuyas who showed us day by day what quiet service looks like. They are often overlooked but never insignificant. And all of them have shaped the kind of Lasallian education that doesn't just prepare us to succeed, but to serve for God, for country. Soon, our schedules will fill up again, and life will speed up again, but we will never regret making the time to and spend time with the people we love. So cling on to that extra hour with your parents, because in the hustle and bustle of life, we often forget that they are growing old too. Say a quiet prayer for your loved ones who've passed, whose prayers are still protecting you. Thank the friends and the org mates who have always had your back. Hug your family a little tighter after this ceremony. Because at the end of it all, it is not the milestones we'll miss most. It is the conversations we postponed, the I love yous we thought could wait. When life moves fast, sometimes the only way to hold on is to slow down and make time for what and who truly matters. This ceremony is not just an invitation to reflect on what we have done, but why it mattered and why it still does. And the answer, I believe, is this. Our Lasallian education was never meant to end with us, because every hour we spent in this university has shaped versions of ourselves we never imagined becoming. Every org we joined, every project we led, taught us how we could contribute to something bigger than ourselves. Some may already know their life-defining why, and that's something that we could definitely keep striving towards. But when we don't have the answers to all of it just yet, we can take comfort in the fact that even in the smallest moments, we have made a difference. I remember the first time I was asked to tutor economics students from younger batches. It was during a 24-unit term mid-pandemic when I was barely keeping up with my own classes. My first thought was, I can't do this. My friends heard me explain, what right do I have to teach someone else? I imagined being asked something I couldn't answer and being exposed to things I didn't know. But then I thought about the people who once showed up for me when I myself was a blank canvas. My teachers from high school who stayed after class to explain a confusing topic. My economics professor who once told me, never say never. My debate coaches who believed in me even when there was no reason to. And that's when it clicked. From a young age, I have learned that Saint LaSalle didn't start with grand gestures, rather. He began by showing up for the children nobody else would teach. We may not have all our answers to our why just yet, but we can begin with the zeal to serve, the humility to listen, the faith, the willingness to show up. Because sometimes that is all it takes to make a difference in someone's life. So think back to a seemingly mundane moment in your Lasallian journey that didn't seem like much at the time. When you shared your notes after class, when you launched an awareness campaign, when you stayed a little longer after an org meeting to check in on someone, when you said, kaya mo yan, right before a friend's thesis defense. These weren't grand gestures. These won't be printed on certificates or medals, but they mattered. Everything we do matters. These hours shaped who we are, who we have become. And maybe that's enough. Because one small moment can spark a chain of change. Because the small things we did were never small at all. In his address to the first teachers, our founder, Saint LaSalle, once said, "The miracles of God's providence take place every day." Fellow graduates, it took place the first day we finally stepped onto campus. It took place that day we experienced irreversible failures. And it took place in all the days we rushed through. Too caught up to notice, we are already in the middle of what we used to pray for. Each time we faced a challenge we thought we couldn't get through was a miracle that brought us here today. And today, fellow graduates, is the accumulation of the miracles we often overlook when we were too busy moving forward in this fast-paced life. Our 20,000 hours as students may be behind us, but there are thousands more ahead. And these hours will ask who we are, these hours will ask what we stand for, and these hours will ask how we choose to live our lives. And so, in living these hours, we must carry forward what matters, to honor who matters, and to live out why it matters. Because what's next isn't just about landing a job or chasing the next milestone. It is about choosing every single day that we live to live not just fast, but fully. So to the 202nd batch of graduates, let us keep our star shining for God's greater glory. Congratulations, God bless, and animo, LaSalle.
Thank you, Mr. Empeno.